kiss. Keep it simple, stupid.
Tell me, boy.
Testicles, 1, 2, testicles. Oh shit! And welcoming to the stage is Big Tankin, Trebles Garcia. That is right. Welcome back, everybody, for joining us again. This is Paranoid Radio Podcast, and I am the one and only Trebles Garcia, your humble host. And joining me on 1 to 2 is the best host in the motherfucking planet, Big Tank. Salute, salute.
Salute. What's going on, big dog? How you doing?
You know what it is. Fucking put it in this fucking work. Guys, ladies and gentlemen, allow me to please let you guys into a little fucking secret. We are ganging up. We're about to fucking hit that 100th episode. But beyond all of that, we are in the mindset of preparing great fucking content and amazing episodes for every fucking week. We're bringing you amazing content for amazing listeners. That is right. Now, Big Time, please connect the randomizer machine and give me the listener of the week.
Random machine, do your thing.
Paranoid Radio.
Now, Big Tech, let us know, who do we have?
We got Peter Renaco from Instagram. Salute, brother. This episode goes out to you.
That is right. Thank you so much for following us and dropping us some fucking love, liking our posts, and joining the Probe Nation. We hope this episode reaches you and you enjoy it. Now, Big Tech, it's a bird. It's a plane. Nope. It's Paranoid Radio. Big Tank, what is happening?
What is happening, my people? You guys know the deal. This is What Is Happening, the best segment of this show. Don't you guys forget it.
Don't get it twisted.
Massive bombs. I'm going to give you 2 stories. I want you to get this 2 cents plus my 2 cents. I'm going to deposit that bitch into the bank of knowledge.
Ooh, the bank of knowledge.
Best believe. Like y'all never seen, because I'll be sliding in between. Okay.
All right.
Let's talk about this, big dog.
Oh, here we go.
This one hits real home. Okay, this one hits
shit.
the dirty, grimy streets of Almonte, California. That's 66, the SGV, born and raised. You already know.
City of Monte.
Yeah. So, it's not so much a story as it's something that's happening. So recently, in the recent months, ever since the pandemic started, even a little bit before, there's been an uprising in street vendors. Okay, and there's been a lot of public enforcement out. There's been a lot of bullying per se. There's also even gotten to the point where there's been altercations, and all of this has happened in the local city. I want to get people's input.
Can I give you my input?
Yeah. Sure.
Now I live more closer to downtown LA, and I'll be honest with you. In LA, every other corner, in the afternoon, towards late evening, you'll hit street vendors up the ass. You'll have chicken spots and you'll have taco spots. And these street vendors, in LA at least, they're everywhere. Some of them are licensed, some of them are not. However, ever since I was coming up, and I was raised in Almonte next to you, Almonte has a thing against the corn guy, the elotero guy. They throw away. I've seen it happen where they push the cart and they kick the cart, and all the fucking elotes are corn. So if you guys know, Mexicans sell these fucking giant beautiful pieces of corn with a bunch of toppings. The problem is that the cops were fucking enforcing that they cannot sell food out in public without having that food handler card or some type of license from the city. Right? Well, now it's becoming a really bad thing, because now everybody and their mamas wants to sell fucking chicken and tacos everywhere. Everybody, saca taco.
Yes, exactly. Okay.
Specifically in Almonte. I don't know what it is, man. I don't know what it is.
Okay. So there's been so much altercation even besides that. Okay. So, for example, you have people that'll literally get their shit knocked down every other week and they're still selling. Talk about the motivation that takes.
That is right.
Okay, talk about the commitment. Okay, and then you have crime on crime. I've seen live footage of a taco truck throwing shame on a street vendor and getting the fire extinguisher and putting out their food and covering their food with fire with
Yeah, that's some fucked up shit. Yeah.
So I want to know what everybody's thinking. I want an honest opinion. Should it be allowed? Should not? Are the people just doing their job? Because you have to. Okay, for example, you work for the city, whatever it is. They tell you to go knock it down. Obviously, you don't want to lose your job. So what are you gonna do? You're gonna go knock it down.
Yeah.
Maybe there's a little bit of leeway. Hey, come on, hey, put everything away, so I don't have to knock it down or whatever.
There has to be some type of order because look, I'll be honest with you. I'm not hating. Look, I'm not hating on the street vendors, but the street vendors in LA and at least in Los Angeles County, the problem is if you allow one taco guy at a public area, one taco guy, and I'm gonna tell you this because from firsthand experience. Okay, my wife is Salvadorian, and there is this fucking place up in Vermont. I think it's Vermont. On Vermont, all the way in downtown LA, that it took within 6 months, dog. Within 6 months, it took one street vendor to be selling their pupusas, right? And then within an expansion of 6 months, they fucking took over the entire sidewalk on both sides of the street for 2 blocks down. They're not only taking away parking from people that live there, that reside in that area, but they're also fucking creating a hostile environment because people have to fucking drive more carefully. And then there's a lot more people jaywalking and breaking the law. Now, the point to this is if you let it go unchecked, you'll have things like that happen. And I find it very, it's a blade with a double-edged sword because you could use it against you also. It's not fucked up what they're doing. It's just they have to know how to do it.
Okay, I personally support street vendors. I think some of them do things other way they shouldn't. I am going to debate that. Should there be maybe a little bit more enforcement or an easier way for them to obtain a health card? Yes, 110%. Yeah. But I think you're right. There should be some restrictions to
some type of check, dude. Some type of check. You know, like also on top of that, people get sick. People could get sick, and then it spread viruses, and then people that don't even need to get sick, like your kids or something, never even eaten the food before, probably got sick. So it's just let's avoid that fucking issue by just setting up a standard way of operating, at least
an easier
and make it feasible, and then also fucking tax it. Fuck it, tax. If they're running as a business, tax the business. Hey, dog. Tax it, bro. I mean, fuck. We talked about this before.
Yeah. On to the next one.
That was
My people. There is actually an amusement park down in Florida where it's not being used anymore. And guess what? They tried demolishing it. But guess what, my people? The paranormal took over. Their machines weren't working. People were getting scared. There was bunch of unexplained things. So from what my understanding is, it's through the shell company of Disney. So it's something that just never went through. It's actually crocodile infested or alligator. I don't know what's down there. Whatever's down there.
Is it one of the two parks that they closed down and then the fucking vegetation just took over? There's forests.
It's a subsection of it. It's a subsection of it. Okay, that they're trying to get rid of. Okay, that one actually got approved to get rid of. So guess what? As soon as they were trying to get in there, malfunction in the machinery. People were getting scared left and right. Stuff was moving. Stuff wasn't there. What the fuck is going on, my people? Is this literally the park saying fuck you? You ain't gonna take us down?
Yeah, I've heard many, like even Skinwalker Ranch. We haven't touched this topic. We will soon enough. They supposedly is like when they bring things to demolish or something. I guess they're sitting on sacred land, and they moved away because the park never took off. It never blew up, and so they closed it down for the same reason, because of malfunctioning of shit, right? You guys are building on grave sites and shit. So now that it's protected by vegetation, these portals open up again, or whatever used to reside there, dead people or spirits, whatnot, are now manifesting. So definitely believable.
Sheesh. Okay, my people, this was what is happening. I want you to get this 2 cents on both of these stories. I know they're really different. One's paranormal, one's real life, but I want you guys' official input. What do you guys think is going on? What should we do? What can we do?
That is right.
My people, this was what is happening, and on now to your regular scheduled programming.
That is right. Big Tank, thank you for those two amazing fucking stories. As always, doing an amazing fucking job. Now, please allow me to set the mood and jump from the deep end of the pool because today we have an amazing fucking episode with a couple of amazing people. Today we're going to be talking about the moon landing. That is right. Now, check this out, guys. July 16, 1969, 6 missions, 12 men, and $257 billion in today's money is what took for man to take a small step, but yet a giant leap for mankind. Quite a small amount of money, to be honest, to be the most important part of modern history, if you ask me. But nevertheless, today we have the amazing privilege to speak and share this episode with not only one, but two young warriors with a background in photography and the music industry, and now the podcast world. Engaging the world in its chaos, one episode at a time, with comprehensive, educational, and gossipy yet factual podcast show called the Snapping Next Podcast. Please give a warm welcome to Carley and Corey.
What's going on?
What's
How's
going
it
on,
going?
guys?
I've never been built up that much in my life. That was awesome, man. I appreciate that.
Yeah, that was nice.
Problem, dude. I want to give you guys, an awesome intro for you guys taking the time to speak with us. Now, guys, let us know a little bit more about your podcast for the people that don't know you.
So I'm a photographer and Corey's in the music industry, and that's how we met. And we just became friends through that. And then I really wanted to do a podcast, like so bad. I had this burning passion inside of me. And Corey wanted to come along for the ride. So here we are.
Nice.
I figured I could use my knowledge to help facilitate. And when Carly said she was really into conspiracies, I'm kind of a skeptic on most things. So I just figured, how can I participate?
I noticed that. And you know what? I'm gonna be honest with you. You guys have a perfect balanced show. And if you guys keep it going, I'm sure you guys will go a long way. The reason I'm saying that is because Big Tank and I also we share a platform, and we also have that dynamic. And it's very, it's also interesting and also entertaining. Make it fun for the listeners to digest basically topics that they're too scared to speak about or think about or even speak with their families about. You get me? So now that we got that out of the way, Carley and Corey, I'm going to let you take the freaking floor to speak on what is it that you found about the moon landing, and what is this conspiracy about the moon landing being fake? Now, I do have a question right before anything. Why haven't we gone back to the moon? Let's begin with that.
I have another question to build off of that question is why has nobody else gone to the moon? The United States is the only country, and when in history can we actually say that the US did something and then no other country wanted to follow in the footsteps of that, especially since the US is kind of partnered with other countries for like space exploration. So like, why has the US been the only country that had men on the moon? And we haven't been there since December 19th, 1972. Are you kidding me?
If you correct me if I'm wrong, but there's a treaty where if we come off, like if we have a technology breakthrough, we have to share that technology with other countries. Is that correct? Like, if so, why haven't other countries reached? I mean, $257 billion is what it took. Wow, in today's money because of inflation. I calculated. But I mean, it's a little bit of money. We're sending over what, $80 million to Ukraine. I'm not sure. I think it's $800 million to the last batch of money that Biden sent out. Like, we could do this again. Why haven't we?
Well, they're trying to, and they have been trying to for quite some time. NASA has a new mission, and it's called Orion. It's not that new anymore, but they're trying to figure out how to get through these Van Allen radiation belts. And what those are like, it's very dangerous for anybody to go past them. And that is why other countries have only sent like unmanned missions to the moon and past the Van Allen radiation belts, because they're not safe for humans to go through without all those layers of protection of lead, which none of the Apollo missions had.
Wow. I think on one of your show, again, people, they dropped this same episode with a lot more information on their podcast called the Snapping Next Podcast. And you mentioned, when I was listening to the episode, you mentioned something about it's radiation, and it could also affect the film. Basically, so if they took pictures on the moon, they couldn't bring without getting damaged. Is that what I'm like explaining?
Right. Okay, so being a photographer, I know very little about film because everything's digital nowadays. But if you bring even like a Polaroid photo, any film, through even the X-ray in the airport, it will get damaged. And that's what they're saying, that what they went to the moon in the Apollo missions, and it was the amount of radiation that you would experience with an X-ray. So, not one report from NASA states that they used lead to protect their camera or film, which is, if you've ever gotten an X-ray done, they have to protect your body with lead. So they would have to do the same thing with film. So not one report states that they used lead to protect the film. Their responses, because people have brought this up, people are like, moon landing was fake. They bring this up. NASA responds by saying that the radiation was so low that it wouldn't have affected the film. But like I said, you bring any film through an X-ray machine and you will see an effect. And look that up on Google. Like, you can see the effect that X-rays give on film.
Hashtag look it up. We like to say that here. Hashtag búscalo is a thing. Now I have a question for Corey. Corey, and I just thought of this right now. I think I heard it also in your episode. So you are a science guy. You believe in science and you're a skeptic, just like they challenge the conspiracy narrative, right? Because you want to use facts. But I also heard on your show, if they're stepping on the moon, they're leaving little crevices on the floor. Why didn't the Apollo mission or the craft that they used to take off leave a bigger ditch in the floor? Like, that's physics. Have to leave a hole in the floor, correct?
Yeah, I mean, I'm with you on that one. And in our episode, the more Carley hit me with the facts of it, I actually ended up siding with her on most of these things where, I would be a person to just initially think, we landed on the moon. Why would we all go through that trouble to just fake the whole country, let alone the world? And the few things I had seen on the whole moon landing as a hoax weren't really definitive enough for me. But the few things Carley did bring up, like you said, in regards to, a jet engine would leave some type of whatever it may be leftover residue, or at least move Earth under it. And to see these photos and just, for me, a lot of it was just also like the lighting exposure, which I'm sure Carley could explain more about, which is, these photos and having multiple sources of light, knowing that there is really only one source of light up there.
Right before we jump into the photography, because we do have a photo that we want you to guys check out. I'm going to be posted on the Instagram account. And guys, make sure you guys are staying tuned. I want to also make an observation. So they placed the flag, the U.S. flag, right? And what I'm thinking here, just like film would get damaged because of the radiation, there's no atmosphere or air in the moon. Wouldn't the colors of the flag fade almost immediately, instantaneously once the sun rays hit it? I mean, they fade here because of oxygen, because of like pollution, the air, everything, right? But if there's no air and the sun rays are hitting it direct, it would probably even burn up.
Right. I mean, we're not physicists. We're not scientists.
This is a good question. I mean, hashtag.
Yes. So what we think might be the logical answer, sometimes it's not 100%. So I've seen videos about the flag like waving with no atmosphere and how that makes sense, and then also many videos on how that does not make sense, and how the flag is still there and the footprints are still well preserved. But I don't have enough knowledge about that, like in my regular life, that like I can't say for sure, like, this is what it's supposed to be. Like the other things that we go over, like, yes, I'm 100% sure.
Okay. I like that you admitted. Hit me with that photography. So I have an image here that you sent me. You told me you better have it on deck or you're a loser. So let me check.
No, I didn't say that.
She says that to me all the time before
I bet she does. Yeah, she looks vicious. All right, so I have the image. I'm looking at it here.
Okay, so what we got. Okay, so that photo is Apollo 11. That's a lunar module that they took onto the moon. And
Mhm.
as you can see, like an astronaut is right next to it. Can you believe that they fit 3 rovers in this thing that looks like it's built out of tinfoil, cardboard, and duct tape? And like not to mention that the protection that they had against the radiation was an eighth of an inch of aluminum. Like that, it blows my mind. I don't
Zooming
understand how
in. I'm
people
zooming in, and I'm looking at the top. It looks like a freaking ugly treehouse, and like this, like a part. I work. I used to work in the car industry before, and I've taken parts of like cars off, and I could see where they actually tried or put some like I don't know like plaster, and they try to like glue it and put some tape over it. This is weird, bro. This is weird. All right. Okay. So you also mentioned something about the shading and the lighting of how different types of lighting will make different shapes and shades depending the angles. You mentioned that on your show. Give us a little bit about that.
Yes. So we posted one of the photos on our Instagram, which is at Snappin X Podcast,
Hmm.
and the shadows, they just don't line up the way that they're supposed to. Like if the sun is hitting from one side, so I will say that sometimes the shadows will go in kind of like a circle depending on where the sun's coming from, but they never cross like super in a 90-degree angle. Like they never cross perpendicular with objects that are so close to each other with no like big hills or anything or anybody like holding up a specific object. So that's just really wonky to me. And then
Hmm.
you see the hot spots from the photos from NASA. There are hot spots from the sun, which can't really happen unless you have clouds. And there's no clouds, there's no atmosphere there on the moon. So,
Hmm.
So Carly, your point with the light is that like there's a secondary source of light. Like to get this footage or to get this imagery, they would need some supporting lighting, like in a photo shoot or in a like
Deflector or
yeah.
something. Uh-huh.
Is
there's
that
just something else is going on there. Like I can't say for sure like that there's a light here and a light there, but this is not just lit up from the sun. There's
If
no
you
way.
to add some logic, let's say like I want to be the devil's advocate. If I have to think like small little hot spots near if it's they're not near the capsule that with the freaking aircraft or spacecraft, right? Maybe they're looking the other way, and maybe the aluminum reflects the sun and gives it a little, a little oomph, right? Okay, like maybe that it's too much of a freaking coincidence, right? But still, it's kind of weird. Now, moving away from the moon and coming back to Earth, Corey. I'm not sure if I heard this on your episode because I've been listening to a couple of episodes, of podcasts, I'm sorry, and I've heard a lot about the moon landing and how Neil Armstrong, that's his name, correct me if I'm wrong, he has not been interviewed or has waived, like he hasn't participated in any interviews ever since he landed back on Earth. Is that true? Do
I,
you know about that?
I don't know if it's true 100%, but I know he has reluctantly answered questions about the whole trip to the moon. And I believe in big things that they were avoiding is like commenting on the stars and
Hmm.
seeing the stars. Something Carly pointed out to me, which I'd never noticed in the photos, is you don't see any stars in the
And they
sky.
should be a lot. I mean, if you want to use brain, like our freaking small, tiny logic, like you should be able to see their light, right?
Yeah, you would think so, right? And like I don't think he necessarily avoided all interviews, but I think he specifically avoided questions that seemed to be somewhat unanswerable or unexplainable, just so he wouldn't have to back himself into a corner.
Let me ask you this, guys. Okay, so I've just thought of something. Okay, so the moon reflects the sun's light on the bright side of the moon, right? The dark side, we never see it, right? Correct?
Yeah.
Okay, so if the sun is hitting the light, like if the sunlight's hitting the moon and the moon's reflecting that light off, that's basically creating light pollution, which is maybe that's why they didn't see the stars, which is why we here in LA cannot see the stars. Maybe that's why.
So,
I see. I
so
would.
I got a
You
point
took
here.
one out of
Though.
my brain on that. I would like if you pitched that well, and I would side with you because that's logical thinking right there.
Yeah, I'm not trying to debunk this, but I mean, god
No,
damn, dude.
I have an answer. I have an answer
Okay,
though.
okay,
Well,
okay.
not an answer, but another question to the answer.
Mhm.
So there was Neil Armstrong, Buzz Aldrin, and then Michael Collins, which nobody talks about. He was the third astronaut, and
Didn't he die? He died.
I
He
don't.
got killed right after he came, or he died somewhere.
He was in an interview. Nobody knows anything about Michael Collins. He's died in something. I can tell, but. So at the NASA press conference, Neil Armstrong answered questions about seeing the stars by saying that he doesn't recall like what stars they could see, and then Michael Collins goes and says that he doesn't remember seeing any stars, and then he goes on to write this book about his experience with Apollo 11 and seeing stars in space, like specifically seeing the stars in space.
But Corey said maybe the publisher or the editor had to add that little in there to make it a story. Kind of like how movies are not completely accurate, right? They had to add a little bit more.
It was too good of a line. It was too good of a line to not put in there, you know?
I love this. And now, I don't know, for fun, I think we're like ganging up on Carley now. I went into this podcast thinking this is a hoax, and I'm thinking to myself like, dude, I should have just like, what? Wait, I'm debunking some of the things in my own brain. Obviously I have to look it up. So, okay, now I also heard that Disney was involved with creating NASA, or a big investor of NASA. I'm not sure. Do you guys know about that?
Oh, I don't know, but
Yeah,
Disney is like the sole creator of most
space movies
things
and
that
stuff,
connect
right?
to the conspiracies.
Yeah, and then they started bombarding us in these indoctrination centers, schools, with freaking with the planet, with stars, with space travel since like from the 70s, right? And then we started getting all this like alien movies and stuff to like normalize that space does exist, and that the moon does. We did walk in the moon. So like, I'm not saying that space does not exist. I'm not a flat earther again, but I mean, you're gonna challenge these things. You have to see also, you connect the dots, how Disney, he was an occultist. We did 2 Disney and stuff about that you didn't know about Disneyland and Disney World. And what we did find out was that Walt Disney was a weirdo, and he did follow some dark paths, and now they're the biggest freaking influencers for children, and yeah, so you gotta look it up, #look it up, people, if Disney was involved in the filmmaking of the moon landing, if it was made in a freaking studio. So you guys got to look that up. Technology. That is probably the last point I wanted to bring you guys. One of the speakers said, one of those astronauts, right? They mentioned that the reason that they haven't gone back to the moon is because they technically disposed of the technology.
No, they lost it. There's a whole report from NASA.
They lost.
Was destroyed, not on purpose.
Did they ever like disclose or specify like what the name of that technology was, or they just?
That's what I was gonna ask you.
Yeah, like you would think if this was such an important thing, they'd at least have it like noted, and it'd be like something that people continued to study and understand, right?
And share it with other countries so that they could get to the, like I said, by bringing it back full circle, like they would have this treaty to share this technology with other countries, or at least allies, perhaps.
And they were all working together too. Like if you look it up, they all have like a space exploration club kind of thing going on.
And then the ISS is traveling at I don't know how many thousands of miles across the freaking planet, and it's just hovering right before we get to those rings of what's it called, radiation that you mentioned, right? What are they called?
Van Allen belts.
Wow, I don't understand.
And if there is like a space station or a mission hovering right below those in the Earth, like if other countries or if anyone was really looking for that, they said it would be like trying to find a rowboat in the Atlantic Ocean. So like it's not impossible to hover below those belts and be unseen.
It is kind of freaking weird that they have the module in the freaking museum, but they don't have the equipment or the technology that got the module there in the first place.
I know.
Right? It's fucking stupid, dude. Oh my God. All right. Well, yeah, I don't know. I don't know what's going on. And then if they did lie, why? Why?
Because they were under so much pressure, like JFK said, like, we're going to get to the moon by the end of the decade. And then they made this big deal about the space race, which, like, the Soviet weren't even really a part
Project
of.
Star
Like,
Wars. Yeah, I remember.
yeah, America made that such a big deal, but the Soviets, like, were not racing us to get humans to the moon. They knew how dangerous those radiation belts were. So I think it was like the pressure of all that and saying, we're going to do this. And then all this space stuff comes out. Everybody's like donating time and money to NASA. Like, they can't let these people down, so let's just fake it. We got Area 51. Let's do it there.
Well, technically, in the movie Transformers, the USSR landed on the moon first. They just kept it quiet. If you guys want to go back and talk, I mean, it's very fictional to me. It's I don't know. So I'm still in shock because there's so much to dig into. And the more you dig, the more you find, and then you start connecting other little freaking dots to other shit. Guys, this has been a 25-minute episode. I freaking love the energy you guys brought in, all the logic. I wanna give you guys the opportunity to share a little bit about your podcast. Where can they find you, and what is it that you're what are you trying to reach with your podcast?
Yeah, for sure. So our Instagram is at Snappin Next Podcast. We have a Facebook page, same thing, Snappin Next Podcast. We have Buzzsprout is kind of where we do everything from. But we are on all major platforms, so like Spotify, Apple Podcast, Pandora, etc. I love learning new things. The more I dive into each conspiracy, the more I learn, the more I want our listeners to learn. I want everyone to open their minds. Corey already came into this with an open mind, so it's good to have his side of kind of down to earth. I get a little out there sometimes, but we have a lot of fun doing it.
That's what it's all about. I'm sorry.
No, you're all good. I was gonna say, for me, it's just, I have like a minuscule knowledge of some of these conspiracies that are brought to the table by Carley, and it's just awesome to like learn more and to think a little bit deeper about them than to just shrug them off as someone just being paranoid and overthinking it.
Absolutely. It is very important to have balance because we've heard a lot of from some of our diehard listeners, and they tell us, hey, you know what? You guys come at it like Angel comes at it like a passionate conspiracy theorist, but then Tank reels it in and brings it back to normality. As a normal Joe doing average stuff, just going through their days, they want to listen to about it, like get educated about it, just not full on red pill, but get a little taste of it and then do the research yourself and do, make your own verdict, right?
100%.
That is all about it. Guys, I had a freaking blast. Everybody, please make sure you check out Snapping Next podcast on every freaking platform. And if you have Apple, if you're doing it on Apple Podcasts, make sure you drop a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. Show them some love. Make sure that, check them out. They have they have 23 other episodes, 24 other episodes. And I hope that they continue dropping these bombs. Thank you so much for sharing this platform with me. Now, Big Tank, let them know where they could find you.
Catch EKNAT.626. Oh, correction. Oh, the Instagram got hacked. If y'all remember. If you know, you know. It's EKNAT626. Once again, EKNAT626 on Instagram. Hit me up, slide in the DMs, whatever you guys want to do. If you guys want to talk shit, I am there and ready for that bout face-off. Best believe that.
Make sure you check out Professor STD himself spreading the STDs around. That means a shit talking degree, guys, just for your info. And you can find me at Trebles Garcia, TRABLES Garcia on all social media platforms. Make sure you hit us up at paranoidradio.com. If you're using Apple Podcasts or Spotify, make sure you drop a 5-star review for your boys. Now, guys, have a great one.
Till next time.
Paranoid Radio.